Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Three Men in Football. All right lads?
All right lads, okay?
All right Darren, Simon.
How are we doing? All good?
Thomas said the names this week and I didn't.
Yeah, we're changing it up.
Taking turns.
Keeping it fresh, lads. All right, so football is almost back. Who's excited?
Big Thomas is.
So they announced the fixtures this week. What are you most excited about, Tom?
Well, obviously the derby. Well, to be honest, twofold. I'm really looking forward to City Arsenal. Hopefully an Arsenal win, and then we go and win it at Goodison if it's allowed to be played there. I'm really looking forward to that, and especially Father's Day. 7 o'clock kickoff. Few sherbets. It's gonna be brilliant.
You know what? I would love it if Thomas drank too much and fell asleep during the game.
Never gonna happen, mate. Have you've seen him during the game?
Yeah, but also, have you seen how much I can drink?
You're an animal.
Yeah, he does like a beer. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that first day. Just seeing, I mean, it could be any game on that first day. It doesn't matter. The fact that Villa are on means that I might just avoid it.
It's funny because this is our catch-up game. And if we win it, we go like 5th from bottom or something, 6th from bottom. So it's a massive game for Villa because if we get beat, it's not going to look good. But if we win it, we might get some momentum then. Of course, we've got John McGinn back and hopefully he'll be starting. And these are key players for us. He's just got Scottish International Player of the Year or something as well. So that's quite good. It's massive for Villa. And like a lot of clubs, you're playing a lot of games in a short space of time. You just hope you start well, because if you don't, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, I reckon you've got the possibility of going on a little bit of a run, Darren, and just creeping away from it. You've certainly got the ability there. You've got some really quality players. I think it's just lack of goals, really, isn't it? That has been your downfall.
Yeah, we haven't, got what you would call a natural goal scorer. But, who knows? Premier League's a funny thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Grealish really stepped up, wouldn't it? And pulls you out of it. Again, I think there's good and bad from that though, Daz, because we've talked about some of the recent transfer speculation, and it looks like Grealish has got an option, maybe even a couple of options, and that would be a big hole to fill for Villa.
Are you trying to make me sad, mate, on our podcast?
Try to start it off in the right way. All right, so today we're going to do the second half of a podcast we did last week, which is focused on building the ultimate player. So we built the ultimate, what we think is the ultimate goalkeeper and the ultimate defender. Obviously, when we were talking about the ultimate defender, Thomas just wanted it to be Van Dijk and didn't want anything else.
Let's be clear, Van Dijk is the ultimate defender.
So, you got some crap on Facebook about that as well, didn't you? Especially from Johnny Pollock.
Well, to be honest, he's my best mate.
And quite right as well.
Yeah, it was that was good. I enjoyed that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the ultimate midfielder and then the ultimate forward. And these are really difficult. And I know you two have been doing research like I have. It's complicated because there are so many. And also, I think there are a couple of attributes that we've come up with that I don't think naturally fit some really great players. So let me give you the attributes for a midfielder to start with. So those attributes are leadership, energy, footballing ability, drive, and adaptability. So there are 5 attributes that we think are important to make the ultimate midfielder. So Daz, I want you to kick us off with leadership. Being our leader on most Saturdays, the hard man of the team, the leader, the person who's driving us forward, scoring all
I've got everything.
goals.
To be fair, if it wasn't for Van Dijk, I'd be playing for Liverpool now.
What do you reckon?
Leadership's, I think it's the easiest one out of probably the lot.
Yeah.
I think over the years we've seen some great leaders. Roy Keane is an obvious one in the 90s, if you like, going into 2000s. He was one of those players where he would have a go at each of his own teammates. He'd have a go at everybody. And he drove the game forward. He was everywhere on the pitch. He'd throw a tackle in. And some games need a tackle to get going. And Roy Keane was always there. He'd say what he wanted. And people, I think, respected him for that. So I think Roy Keane for leadership's got to be right up there.
Yeah, he's a good one. You think about what he did for United as well in that team where they had all the superstars. He held it all together. He drove them all forward, didn't take any crap off them, and he was a leader on and off the park as well, which I think was big for United. Tom, who have you got?
I've got Steven Gerrard. I've picked Gerrard as a leader more for... He dragged a poor Liverpool side at times to success. He dragged them, not by... He wasn't a screaming and a shouter on a pitch. He dragged them with his footballing ability and digging them out of massive holes at times. So if there's any way of showing your team around you how to do something, is to get stuck in and actually, deliver. He'd done it numerous occasions. So Gerrard definitely up there for leadership.
I think he's a great example.
I've got a feeling Gerrard might come up more than once for Thomas.
No, to be honest, I've got a decent spread this week.
Well, Liverpool reserves.
I have got him on every one of our attributes for a midfielder. That doesn't mean that he will be the person who wins it, but as a complete midfielder, I think everyone agrees that he's about as good as it gets. And you listen to the pros and the best players in the world, and they talk about people like Gerrard, about every element of his game, and what he did for those, 5, close to 10 years for Liverpool was unbelievable. It was just a shame that he didn't do more for England. He had some good games, but he just didn't do as much. And we've talked about what we think drove that. And he didn't really drive the English team forward. But anyway, the other one that I've got is on the other side of the Keane-Vieira confrontations. And Vieira, I think, was fantastic for Arsenal. So think about what they were like at that time and the team they had. He was the engine for that team, and not only the engine in terms of his energy and his ability to drive the team forward with his energy, but also as a footballing ability. What a fantastic player. Really tall, really kind of didn't really look like a footballer, but then was graceful on the ball, could throw a foot in, was strong, didn't back down from anyone. And those Keane-Vieira battles were legendary.
So, Vieira, I think, is similar to Keane, but I think there's different types of leadership. Some players lead by example. Some players lead by going, shouting at players, getting people up to a certain level of playing. One that I want to throw in, and it's a bit maybe left centre, is someone who led England, I think, through example, and it's Beckham.
Yeah.
I think Beckham, through his the way he played and the way he conducted himself off the pitch as well, was superb. And I think since when he got sent off against Argentina, I think that really gave him a kick. And then he went on to lead his country. And I thought he was brilliant for England.
He was in my list. Same thing. I don't think he led in the same way that Gerrard, Keane and Vieira did. But certainly in those years, there was probably 4 to 5 years where for England, he was the leader. Remember that goal against Greece?
Yeah.
I mean, amazing the way he stepped up. What's your take, Tom?
Don't like him. I think he was a good player. I think at times he was a little overrated. He worked really, really hard. So in that sense, no one could ever say, slag him off for his work rate. His output sometimes let him down. He wasn't great for me. I've got two. I'm changing the subject, Darren.
All right, like fair play.
I've got two left on my list, and I've got Tony Adams, who captained Arsenal to 3 titles in 3 separate decades, and he led that back line.
But he's a defender.
He's a defender.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So when you say change the subject, you meant change positions as well,
and go back to last week.
I've done it. Honestly, I've got another 2 on here.
Oh, that is genius. And that tells you all you need to know about Thomas's.
I think I'll go back to Beckham.
Yeah, go back to Beckham.
His attention span is terrible. All right, so I'll throw some out. I think there are loads of midfielders. It's typical, mate. So there are loads of midfielders that I think actually you could say lead in different ways. So for the French side, Platini, I think was a great leader for them. Led with his footballing ability. And then obviously he's gone on to play parts in political organisations as well and not done probably as good a job. But in terms of his footballing ability and how he led that team, he was fantastic. He was a big player for the big games and was one of the world's best players at the time. Someone else, and it's someone who I watched a lot growing up, was Souness.
Yeah.
I thought Souness was fantastic. And again, I don't really know what he was like on the park. You know, you heard a lot of chat about what he was like as a manager. But what you know is on the park, he gave you 100% in everything he did. And by the way, he had a load of ability.
Yeah, Souness was like the main guy at Liverpool when they had great players around him as well. And wherever he's gone, they look at him as a leader.
Yeah.
Can I just throw one in again? You talk about Platini for France. What about Lothar Matthaus for Germany?
Yeah, I had him in my list as well. Brilliant.
But
he was brilliant as well because you could literally play him anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he played centre back, sweeper, midfield most of the time, but he was a brilliant footballer.
Yeah, and I think again, he led by example. I don't think he went round shouting, screaming at players, but by example, he was brilliant. Everything he did was class.
What about Lampard?
A different style of leadership, I think.
Yeah.
I think he led by getting the goals and making those runs and his energy.
Yeah.
Rather than a leader, what we've spoke about so far.
I sort of stick De Bruyne in that class as well.
Yeah, definitely.
The way he runs the game for City, him and Silva, but he takes it on his own shoulders when things aren't going well for the side. He'll drag them by the scruff of the neck and he'll come up with a worldie, or he'll just get the speed of the game going quicker. He's just a quality player, but again, not one that you'd see vocally screaming and shouting on a pitch.
I think that's the point, is that the way he drives the game forward is very different than the way some of these what we're classing as the old school leader do it. But every so often you'll just see him just turn it up, and he appears like he's everywhere on the park. So wherever they've got the ball, he's either taking off the defence or he's getting past the forwards. He's got bags of energy, but that's the way he drives the team forward. But I don't think we need to go outside of some of the ones that we've talked about already, because there are some classics in there. So, Tom, are you going to go for, seeing as you haven't got any other midfielders in that list?
Tony Adams, I think, for Thomas. I think that'd be a great shout.
I can't believe I've done that. I'm just looking through my list to make sure I haven't done it again.
Goalkeepers for strikers.
No, I'm going to go for Roy Keane. I like this scruff of the neck. I'm going to kick you up the arse type.
Yeah.
Leadership. You know, Gerrard for me is absolutely out of this world. But I certainly like the one that's going to get you by the throat and say, no, you're not doing good enough. You know, I want you to do things better. I want you to do things quicker. And if you don't, I also love the fact that he had to go with his own fans. You know, to say, you know, the prawn sandwich brigade. I love that. You know, we all do it together. We all fight for the same cause. He's my pick.
It does.
I haven't heard what Thomas said about leaders. I know I am his captain now on a Saturday. Roy Keane for me. Roy Keane. Similar reasons for Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to go for that as well. Keane is a shoe-in. Again, I think his only real challenge for me would be Gerrard, but Keane is definitely the winner. Okay, so Keane gets leadership. So next we go to energy, and given the fact that this is one of the things that I've got bags of on the football field, I will kick this off. You know, what I lack in ability, I make up for in energy. Okay, so number one for me is going to be, or number one on my list was Gerrard. So we talked before about what De Bruyne does in how he drives the game forward. Well, Gerrard has the leadership piece, but he also has the ability to drive the game forward with his energy. Again, it's something, he just flicks a switch and all of a sudden he's the person that everything is going through. You know, when we're going through midfield, he's picking the ball up from the defence. When we're getting the ball up to the forwards, he's the person who's getting up there with them and supporting them. He's on each wing, he's everywhere. And he does that because he has got bags of energy. And it always appears like, as well, in the last 10 minutes, he can really turn that up. He was amazing for Liverpool.
I think we should give this to Thomas, because for me, Gerrard's ideal for energy. I think everything you've said, Simon, I don't want to repeat it. So for me, he's a shoe-in. Thomas?
Yeah, I like the where he just appear anywhere on the pitch. So, you know, when we're under pressure, he'll be at left back making tackles. He'll be at the back line. He'll drop into defensive needs, but he'll just play absolutely anywhere to try and get that win. He's absolute amazing, covers so much ground.
But just some honorary mentions, really. I think Vieira does a similar thing. Patrick Vieira could do a similar thing. And more recently, I think Kante has done a similar thing in terms of his defensive duties. He's everywhere where there's a gap.
Yeah.
But Gerrard's the obvious choice.
Yeah, Gerrard is the obvious choice. I do have a couple of others in my list as well for energy. Busquets, I thought, did great for Barcelona because you had Iniesta and Xavi who were basically playing all the fancy football, and Busquets was running the game for Barcelona. I think Beckham has got to get a mention in there as well. Again, his energy was great. And then Gascoigne for his madness. You look at some of them games that England played through his best years, and he was the person who was driving the game forward. And then the last one has got to be Makaleli, who's done a great job, again, in the engine room in that kind of holding midfielder role. Sorry, let me add one more, just so Thomas doesn't have to. Henderson.
Yeah, I'm not going to... I've got James Milner, and I've also got Frank Rijkaard.
Yeah.
It was another tireless worker in midfield. But, I mean, Milner, he reminds me of the Energizer Bunny. He's I think he's often the top of the charts for distance covered in a game, playing midfield or fullback, and he's a tireless worker. I've seen a funny thing about Kante that you just mentioned. They said he runs on the treadmill until the treadmill gives up. That's how hard he works. And Rijkaard, he was saying he's just a true workhorse, but with skill and elegance. That was how he was described. So 3 good ones there.
Okay, I'm going to go for Gerrard.
Gerrard.
Okay, so for energy, we go for Steven Gerrard. Okay, next is football and ability. And this list goes on for days as well because there's so many of them. Tom, Darren, who have you got?
Top of my list, Gaza.
Yeah. I knew he'd be right up there.
Yeah, I don't have to say anymore. It's just class.
Yeah. Thomas?
Well, Zidane. He's probably the most graceful midfielder that we've ever saw. He's right up there, rightly, in our top best players ever to play the game. So,
Yeah, brilliant. Scholes?
Yeah, I like Scholes.
So are you shaking your head, Thomas?
No. Well, I was, because I'm looking at the rest of my list and I'm thinking, I haven't put him on.
See, I think...
But I've got that many on my list.
Yeah, it is hard, this one. I think Scholes, again, if you listen to other pros, if you listen to the best players in the world when he was at his best, the player they wanted, the 2 players they picked out they wanted to play with was Scholes and Gerrard. And because that ability was just crazy, especially, think about what Scholes did with his game as well. As he got older, he slowed his game right down, and then he dictated the game's pace with his ability. That's
so
special.
When Ferguson asked him to come back, and he said, I'll go and I'll come back. And he changed his game then, and he just sat there and ran the game. And he would knock passes out like there's no tomorrow. He was an unbelievable footballer. Similar to like the Xavi, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's why I think they liked him. I think Xavi was a superb footballer in the Barcelona side that played total football.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Do you know that Scholes never got voted Man United's Player of the Year? He never made it on the Ballon d'Or list, and he never made it into the running. I don't think the top 3 for the PFA or Football Writers Player of the Year.
Yeah, but what do they know?
I'm just saying, when you look at how highly we rate him, and rightly so, he never made any of the top player awards, in his career.
I hadn't really thought about that, but that is really odd, isn't it, given how good he was?
Yeah.
Okay, who else have you got, Thomas?
Oh, right. I've got, you just mentioned Iniesta and Xavi. They were on my list, 2 absolutely superb ones. But I've got Luis Figo.
Yeah, I liked Figo, but I wasn't overly... I don't know, that's just my opinion. I wasn't overly pressed on him.
Don't forget, though, you're talking about football ability. So that's where you've got to almost isolate it, because there are some things that Figo was not great at, and he drifted in and out the game. But in terms of ability on the ball, he was crazy, wasn't he? I mean, he could do things that most players couldn't. He scored some amazing goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got another one who, again, would probably get into most people's top 10 midfielders in recent years, is Pirlo.
Yeah, I got Pirlo, yeah.
I've got Pirlo in
I mean, he was like a Rolls Royce of a midfielder, just amazing on the ball, graceful, just a brilliant footballer, and love to watch him as well because, as we said about Scholes, when his game changed, Pirlo has always played the game at that pace. But the thing that Pirlo could do is he had the ability to speed up the game, to drive a team forward without actually changing his pace at all. It was all about his pace of thought and his ability to find a killer pass.
Yeah, I like Pirlo a lot. I think he played the game in second gear all the way through.
Yeah.
Here's one for you, a little bit off the wall. It's Liam Brady. So Liam Brady was absolute class for Arsenal. And then I think he went abroad to play as well at one point. Left foot like a wand. And again, he was from an era when tackles were flying left, right and centre. But he just graced the game. And people who've played with him have said how good he is. So although he probably is not going to be in there with a football ability, I think he's worth the shout because he was absolutely stunning.
Well, I've got one that definitely could be in the running. Georgie Best.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I love Best. Yeah,
again, he was brilliant on the ball. He won games for teams, but some of those goals he scored, you know, he's got the ability and the grace like Maradona, where he's got the ball at his feet and you literally just can't get it off him, and he waltzes through players. People can't get near him, and the only thing they can do is kick him. What a player!
I put Best in my forwards.
Yeah, so I put him in midfields. Again, we've got this argument about people like Messi and Ronaldo. I put him in the midfield just because even when he did play up front, he played in behind. So I don't know.
So Thomas, who else do you think should get in this midfield?
I've got Ryan Giggs. I don't know whether we're going to class him as a forward or because he played mainly left wing. So Ryan Giggs.
That's got to be midfield though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to say, because he did play as a second striker at times and he did play really high up as a, you know, in a front three type thing. But Ryan Giggs for ability, his dribbling skills were outstanding. He won so many games with his speed and his trickery for United over the years. So you've got to think about Ryan Giggs when we talk about.
Yeah, he's definitely a good one to have in there. You remember that goal against Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-final?
Yeah.
We've talked about that a couple of times, but in terms of ability, he did get a little. I've watched that loads of times recently. And he gets a little bit of luck on the edge of the area, but if you watch his feet are so fast, he seems to be in total control of the ball. But if someone would have gone through the ball, then, you know, he's not getting to that place. But I guess you could say that about every goal like that, couldn't you?
Yeah, but I also think the difference between him and George Best was Best he played in the era where he'd put you in the back of the stand. Where almost didn't want to tackle Giggs in case he gave something away. Where back in the day you could just take them out, you know.
Yeah.
So I think Giggs deserves a mention. I think Simon mentioned Platini before.
Yeah.
Platini was class until he missed that pen. But he was a class player. And again, we're mentioning players who seem to just play the game at their pace. And they have that ability to dictate the pace of the game with either a pass or a run or that little short, sharp burst of pace that gets them into position to do something. So another one, I put him in midfield, Brazilian, Zico.
Yeah, I had Zico on my list. Brilliant player. Now, the thing is, you could include him as a forward as well because of how many goals he scored. But, yeah, either one. What a player.
I tell you what, this is hard now.
I'm not going to lie. I've never seen him play.
It's a bit like me, Thomas, when I've gone up front. Very similar.
Oh, Darren, don't do that stupid joke again.
Well, the one where he runs over the halfway line once a year.
Yeah.
All right. So I reckon we're up to honourable mentions because we've gone through a load. So I've got a couple of honourable mentions. In football and ability, Hoddle would be a classic. Seedorf, brilliant footballer, and went on for years. Kaka.
Oh, yeah. What a player.
Again, you've got that argument of forward versus
Striker.
midfielder, but he played in midfield most of his life. Brilliant footballer. And why wouldn't you include people like Maradona and Cruyff?
Cruyff was class.
Again, are they forwards? Are they midfielders? They both played in midfield, but they were played like forwards. But some amazing footballers there.
It's a difficult one to say.
Here we go. All right, Daz. I think I'm nailed on who you're going with. So let's pick yours for football and ability, Daz.
I'm going for Gaza.
Okay. Thomas, who have you got?
Zidane.
Yeah, sorry, Daz. Gascoigne is a close second for me, but Zidane is amazing, and I think he's the best player I've ever seen. So I'm going to have to go with Zidane. So unfortunately, Daz.
So can we just say this is now called Two Men in a Football from next week? I'm handing him a 7 days resignation.
Brilliant if your video just went off now.
Of course.
Okay, so next we have drive. So I think this is another one that kind of relates a bit to energy, but not so much just about their own energy, but the energy they bring to the team. So Thomas, who have we got?
I've got the Roma legend, De Rossi.
Yeah.
Good shout.
I thought, he's recently retired. Absolute quality player. He was the Spanish Gerrard, really, the way he drove that team on. He's just superb. Centre midfielder, rock solid. Drove the team on, quality player, and he played unbelievable amounts of games for Roma and in the Italian Scudetto.
Yeah, Dan, who have you got?
I've got Toure, played for City. Again, he's one of those players you can pick the
Are we talking about Colo or Yaya?
Yeah, sorry.
Polo, then you've gone mad and you've been swapping something.
Sorry. I just presumed that, like my family, there's only one brother who's any good. It's Yaya Toure. I think he can get the games by the scruff of the neck and just drive a team and forward, and so he's definitely in there for me.
Yeah, that's a good shout. What a player he was. Okay, so I think for very different reasons, for drive, Maradona, and let me give you the context. Think about what he did for Argentina. And they had some really good players, but he was the man, and he drove that team forward and took them to a World Cup.
And basically won 2 World Cups.
Yeah,
that's what they saw.
But I do think there was one of the World Cups. He was just so far ahead of everyone else, and he just dragged that team through. In the other World Cup, they had some decent players or better players, but he was, what a player.
Yeah, and even you could say Cruyff was a similar type of player for Holland.
Yeah,
74 and 78, where he would drive. He was the main man at Holland, and he would drive the teams forward with the skills and obviously the having a turn named after him.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think Maradona's a great shout. Thomas.
He shouldn't be held in the same class as Maradona and Cruyff, but Lampard for me. Lampard, his drive for Chelsea over the years was absolutely superb. I really loved the fact that he'd score 20 goals a season for them, coming from deep. He drove that team on to numerous championships, and I think he got man of the match in the Champions League final that they won. So, quality player, just shame he played for Chelsea.
Yeah, good player, quality footballer, did well for Chelsea for years, and is obviously now managing them. And they're not as good these days, but yeah, he did a great for them. Okay, so I've got another one, maybe left field a little bit, is Desailly.
Oh yeah, France.
Yeah, great footballer, did a great job for France, and obviously was one of the world's best midfielders for a long time. I don't think he quite gets up to the top in terms of drive, but certainly did an awful lot to drive that team forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm going to pick one now, very old school. I'm not sure if I'm allowed it, but Bobby Charlton.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Bobby Charlton, both for England and for Man United.
Yeah, I had similar kind of people in my list. What I then did was I took them out because I hadn't seen them, so it's difficult to really know.
Yeah,
they definitely get a mention for us, but I don't know whether you've seen enough of them to pick them over some of the others, because you've seen what some of these players can do to drive teams forward. Whereas for him, it's just the stories, isn't it?
It is stories, and that we have some video footage, but certainly. Yeah. But I just think for what he achieved in the game, I think a mention is definitely there.
Okay, so I've got a Liverpool one. What about McMahon? Steve McMahon, come on.
Just because he stopped the ball on the line and then took a player on and passed it through, they scored. Is that why?
The only other thing is as well, he's the one, he was giving it the 2 minutes, wasn't it, when we got beat by Arsenal?
Was he?
To lose the league, yeah. 2 minutes left. Yeah, that was not good. But he was brilliant when we were growing up as a midfielder. He was fantastic. I also had Peter Reid. Peter Reid for Everton was fantastic. Did a great job for them, and at a time when Everton were a world class team, he was brilliant for them. And I think there was a lot of drive for that team coming out of midfield. You think about how good their midfield four were. He was a really good player.
I just watched that documentary on Everton in that era, and he was saying, Peter Reid was saying, Colin Harvey changed his game. Colin Harvey was told Peter Reid to press more, and that got them further up the pitch. And I think that's where that drive comes from. He was driving the defence, and it was really interesting to listen to him talking about that. And I think he's still chasing Maradona though somewhere.
Okay, anyone got anyone else before we make a decision on this one?
I just had, I don't know whether he'd be more classed as a forward. I had Hazard at Chelsea the last couple of seasons before he went to Madrid. I thought he drove them on absolutely superb as well.
Yeah, he was good. I think he did well because he had that ability to flick a switch. I don't know whether he would make it to the top for me, but he definitely had the ability. Okay, anyone else before we decide? All right, drive, Daz, who have you got?
I'm going to go for Maradona. You've convinced me. You've convinced me Maradona's the one.
Thomas?
I would have said Gerrard.
Yeah, but how can you not have Maradona in your midfield, in your ultimate midfielder?
Well, like you just talked about at the start, we're going to lose amazing players because they don't fit what we've categorised it as.
Well, luckily enough, Tony Adams won't go in, so... All right, so let's put Maradona in for drive, and I definitely refer back to him driving Argentina to World Cups. Fantastic player. Okay, so the last attribute is adaptability. Now, I found this more difficult than anything else, and I've got a couple that I think were very adaptable, but this is quite difficult because when you're a world-class midfielder, especially central midfielder, then the only other position you will generally play is centre-half. You won't go on to be a winger. You won't go on to be a fullback. And you generally won't go on to be a decent forward. So adaptability, I think, there's not a lot of players that kind of really fall into this category. So, Thomas, I'm going to start with you just to pass the book a little bit.
Well, I have got two, and they're from the same team. Xavi and Iniesta. I put them in because of how fluid that Barca side was. So they didn't really hold, maybe Xavi more so, he'd always hold the centre of the field. But they were that fluid that they could interchange their positions and it was seamless. There wasn't any issue with it, wherever they were on the pitch, someone would fill the hole. So them two for me would definitely add, they were adaptable and, changed the way we look at football really the last few, now.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good way of looking at it. They don't have to play in other positions, but the fact that they can operate anywhere on the park and be as influential, whether they're picking the ball up from the goalkeeper or slotting a nice little finish into the net. Okay, Daz, who have you got?
Again, we're going to have the argument whether he is a forward or midfield player, but I've gone for Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. I think he can play anywhere across the field, and I think in midfield, left or right, he was at United. When he plays for Portugal, he sort of has that free role to play anywhere, and he picks the ball up anywhere. He's comfortable on the ball. So I think Ronaldo has got the adaptability, what we're looking for.
He has. I would definitely argue for him to stay in the forwards, though, because I think he's got more of a play in the forwards list. Because you could argue Ronaldo could do any of the things that we've talked about in midfield. He could be in all of those lists, and so could Messi, for that matter. But yeah, I'd argue he's much more a forward these days. Okay, so again, this is difficult. But one of the people who I think has done well in recent years is Fernandinho for City. And I'm not talking about, what you were referring to, Thomas, with Xavi and Iniesta. I'm talking about actually playing other positions. So he's played central midfield, centre-half, and he's also he's had stints in games of full-back and on either wing. And he's not, I don't think he's like one of the best players in the world, but in terms of his ability to fit into any role and do a really good job, he's definitely up there for me. He does a really good job.
But again, if we talk about adaptability in that sense, Milner has to be included in some discussion.
Yeah.
Milner, whatever team he's played for since he was at Leeds, has gone right through every club and played in every position. You know, I remember in Villa when he was a quick winger, you know, and then he went to City and he adapted his style. And Liverpool, he's played left back, right back, everywhere across the middle. So adaptability in that sense, I think Milner has to be up there.
Yeah. The only other one I had on my list that I was a bit unsure about was Giggs. So Giggs started as a out-and-out left winger, didn't he? He then moved to an outside forward, as they were used to be called. Then he dropped into midfield, and he finished his career at holding midfielder. So, quality player, and he just adapted what ability and what legs he had left and just got slotted in different places.
And I think at one point, Thomas, he played him left back behind Sharp at one point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was what a left side that was. Okay, so I've got another one of your favourites, Darren, Lothar Matthaus.
Yeah, class.
Talking about players that can play different positions. He generally would play central midfield or that sweeper role. But what a player he was!
Yeah, and control the game from wherever he played.
Okay, so let's do it. It was adaptability. Thomas, who do you want?
I don't know. I'm going to say Milner.
Okay.
As usual, picking a Liverpool player. I'm torn between Fernandinho and Ronaldo. Personally, I think it's a tough one. I think Ronaldo plays every position. Fernandinho is again playing those positions and in a different way. So I'm gonna one of those two. I'd be happy with.
Okay, so. This is a difficult one because you've also got Henderson's another one who was pretty good in terms of adaptability. But I don't think Milner, Henderson, or Fernandinho could get into the greatest. If you're building the ultimate midfielder, I don't think they get in. But I also think that if you take Cristiano Ronaldo out of the forwards, then are we going to have him in both? Yeah, I think so.
Travesty.
You can't have them in both.
No, but I don't think. For me, I think there's what we've got in it the forwards. I think there's quality there.
There is, but he was. I'm telling you now, he features in the majority of mine.
Yeah,
that's the only one. That's the only one you can
play the game.
Yeah, but that's the only one you can spell. So that's.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's a tough decision, lads, and that's Do you
know what? I'm going to go for Fernandinho.
Coward. Now, if Ronaldo doesn't get in any of these striking positions now, Simon,
that one's definitely up for debate. That's the most difficult one I think we've got. Adaptability.
Can we come back to it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's pencil Fernandinho in there. We'll come back to him at the end. Okay. So what we've ended up with, as it stands, and we get a right to adjust before we finish. Leadership. I mean, this is some midfielder. Leadership: Keane. Energy: Gerrard. Ability: Zidane. Drive: Maradona. And adaptability: Fernandinho. He doesn't fit.
No.
Do you know what?
Lothar Matthaus would be a better fit there.
I think Matthaus is a much better fit.
You've changed, Thomas Norris.
I know.
Yeah. You've gone from Milner to Matthaus.
I'm going for Matthaus. So, Daz, unless you're vetoing that.
No, that's fine.
Because you love him.
I love Matthaus, yeah.
Okay. So, we end up with leadership: Keane, energy: Gerrard, ability: Zidane, drive: Maradona, and adaptability: Lothar Matthaus. That is some midfielder. Okay, so let's switch to attacker. Now, this one I think was more difficult for different reasons. There was just too many. There's too many really good people in each category. So here are the categories. Goals, which for us also includes finishing. Then we have movement, desire, strength, and influence. All things that we think make the ultimate attacker. So let's kick it off with goals. I think this is one of the easiest ones because you can actually use the number of goals that they've scored. So, Thomas, give us who you've got.
Romario. I think he's the leading all-time goal scorer in world football.
Well, there's chat that he scored anywhere from 772 goals up to 1,000 goals, apparently.
Well, his records, he scored 1,021. Official records are saying it's between 856 and 900 goals. which is absolutely outstanding. I can remember him at the World Cup, and he was just short and dead, really sharp, and scored a few poachers goals. But other than that, I couldn't really tell you a lot about him other than that World Cup that I've seen him. But his goal scoring, the record, that's some record there.
Brilliant player. We loved him. Daz, who have you got?
So on a bit left field, scored a great goal with his left foot volley. Tony Adams, I thought he was... Only Messi. Go for another Brazilian, someone who started his career, I think, around about PSV-ish. Went through, played for Barcelona. For me, the ultimate finisher is Ronaldo.
Yeah,
the Brazilian player. Ronaldo. I don't think I've ever seen a finisher quite like him. His control, he used to grace around defenders and goalkeepers, one-on-ones. I don't think he's ever failed. Superb striker.
His one-on-ones were legendary. He was just ultimately confident. What a footballer he was. I love Ronaldo, one of my favourite ever players. Okay, but if we look at shorter term, so players that are still playing now, Ronaldo and Messi have got to be in there, haven't they? Ronaldo has scored almost 750 goals, and Messi scored 725 odd goals in their careers. Surely they've got to be in the mix for goals. Because I think that, I don't know whether you could get away with saying this, but I'd argue that it's probably more difficult now because you've got better equipped players to stop you scoring goals. The most difficult thing to do on a football field, and they do it in a way that just looks easy.
I think it's difficult to compare now and then, if that makes sense, because I think the game's changed. But because, for example, Messi playing at Stockport County on a Tuesday night, he'll probably get kicked up in the air. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the game's faster now. Yeah. I think the players are faster. I think they're fitter. But you're only as good as the players you play against in that era. And I think, for me, that's why... I remember watching Ronaldo playing at Barcelona, and he was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
but
was great.
I get your point. I think Messi, his goals, he scores hat-tricks nearly every week, I think. It seems like every week. Yeah. But I think if we put him in there, we lose him somewhere else, and that's the difficulty.
Thomas, who have you got? Anyone else?
I've got the Premiership's leading goal scorer, Alan Shearer. Quality striker.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, but I've got a left field one who I thought was brilliant. I hate to say this, but Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
Quality finisher. If you're putting up there for finishing ability, he was up there with the best.
Yeah, he's great.
He got robbed with some serious injuries in his career, but what a quality player.
I want to throw in someone from old school, because I know we've got some listeners who are over the age of 65. So I want to throw this in. I've not seen much of this guy, but by all means, reputation is Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah, I had him in my list as well. What a player. Again, back to, we haven't seen that much of him, but meant to be an amazing footballer.
Yeah, he went abroad as well and played, and he was a legend abroad, played for Spurs and Chelsea. People who've watched him, my dad, your dad, people of that era have said he was unbelievable.
Okay, what about Pele?
He was all right, wasn't he? Don't get me wrong.
Like 700. So the official record is 767 goals at a time when, I mean, it was difficult being a centre forward because you were getting absolutely hammered, weren't you?
And it's a difficult one again, because if we put him in there, we lose him somewhere else. And this is so difficult. This is probably the hardest we've ever done.
But then it depends what you're talking about in terms of goals. So goals, are we talking about the sheer number? Because if it's sheer number, then it's Romario.
Yeah.
But if it's ability to finish and all those things, which I think that's certainly the way I'm looking at it, then you've got to include people like my old mate Robbie Fowler as well.
Ian Rush.
Michael Owen.
Yeah. I think for me,
we're going to start playing word bingo again, by the way, if we keep saying for me.
Yeah, well, that's the only time I've said it this week, isn't it? I've done quite well.
15 times you've said it, Daz.
I just think, while, they were great finishers, I just think there's a slight difference with Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo. All
right, let's vote. We're going to start with Daz. We know where he's going.
Ronaldo, Brazilian.
Okay, Thomas?
I'm just going to go on sheer number of goals. I'm going with Romario.
Okay, sorry, Tom, but Ronaldo is one of my favourites ever players. I'm going with Fat Ronaldo.
Well in.
And mainly because the way he went around goalkeepers was just ridiculous. Okay, so next on the list is movement. This is a great one, because I think this is something that is somewhat underrated. But when you get a centre forward who can move and can open up opportunities and get in down the channel, it makes a massive difference to a team. It also makes a central midfielder's life so much easier. So I'm going to kick it off with Aguero.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a footballer. And the way he moves, he drags defences all over the place. And he's also very good at moving late. And then people just don't know what he's going to do. And then he generally gets a goal. So he would be on the list for me.
Yeah,
quality player. Back in the day, I've got Ian Wright. I thought his movement playing for Arsenal, he was absolutely superb. He scored a hell of a lot of goals. He was record goal scorer for quite a while. Tough pitches, tough centre halves, and he just pulled them all over the place, and he was a great finisher.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, you can't argue with his record. It's phenomenal. I've gone for a slightly different player for movement, and Messi.
Yeah.
Because I think what he does very well is when he's got the ball and when he hasn't got the ball, he's got that 2 or 3 yards always. And his movement is always a little bit later than everybody else. And he's so hard to mark and so difficult. So I think for me, movement is Messi.
That's a good one. How about Thomas's mate, Thierry Henry? He had everything, didn't he, as a centre forward?
Yeah.
We've talked about him before and how he was amazing at Arsenal. He went to Barcelona. He made that Barcelona team better. And I think a lot of what Thierry Henry relied on was his movement. And as he got older, it became more about his movements and less about his pace as well, because he was very fast when he was younger. But he would definitely be in the list as well.
I've got one, again, old school 80s, as Lineker.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Gary Lineker, his movements inside the 6-yard box, 18-yard box was phenomenal. He'd just go on the shoulder of the defender and he'd get a shot away, and he was unmarkable in some games. Absolutely phenomenal.
Okay. Very similar to Ian Rush, Darren. I had the two of them next to each other in the list, and put very similar movements, playing on the shoulder of defenders, and worked really hard, pulled defences all over the place.
The couple that I had who were a little bit different from a movement perspective. We're talking about the kind of old-fashioned play on the shoulder striker who's moving to drag defences around. But two players that I think did that differently by dropping in behind and playing almost in the 10 role is Rooney. And Graham Sharp, I thought, did a great job at that, linking midfield and attack. He'd come in and he'd cause defences problems outside of the box as well as inside the box, whereas Rush was always in the box. He was on the end of everything. You had that combination of him and Dalglish, and the way Rush tells the story is Dalglish said to him, when I get the ball, you run into space and I'll find you. So Rush would just find whatever the space was running into it, and generally Kenny Dalglish was giving him the ball. Well, what Sharp was doing is Sharp was dropping in and almost getting involved in the play earlier. And then generally he was finishing it off as well. He was a great player.
I think Sharp changed his game when he played with Adrian Heath and Andy Gray. He changed his game, and he went more deeper when Andy Gray, because Andy Gray played more up front. So his game altered slightly. I do think we've got to put Marco van Basten somewhere in this. In the movements, it's for simply that one goal. His movement, when you look at that volley, is superb. The way he has to back up, if you like, get to the side and finish. So Marco van Basten, he was playing with quality players, Hullert, Rijkaard, we've mentioned earlier, Thomas, and those players. And again, he was an 18-yard box player. And I think we're losing that, apart from maybe Aguero these days. Simon, you've mentioned already. There's a lot more running expected from a lot of forwards. And I think the old 6-yard player is going.
Okay, so 3 honourable mentions each. I'll do mine first. So the first one is Shevchenko. Loved him as a footballer. You could talk about all the others as well. Bergkamp. And then Dalglish. 3 amazing footballers who made it look easy, and their movements in and around the box was superb. Thomas, who have you got?
I've got Klinsmann. I thought his movement for Germany, brilliant, and Tottenham to a certain extent. Van Nistelrooy, I loved the way he used to, from free kicks, would step offside before VAR. And then, no one had seen that before in this country. He'd stand offside and then, everyone had dropped back to try and pick him up, and he'd cause chaos by doing it. And the last one is Bobby Firmino. I think his movement is out of this world. He causes defenders don't know whether to follow him into midfield, don't know whether to follow him out wide. He's always got time on the ball, he's always got space, and he's creating that himself. So he's definitely an honourable mention. Okay, all right, Darren, who are your 3 honourable mentions?
I'm only going to do 2 because that's the type of guy I am. I'm going to do 2 Germans, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Rudi Völler. Rudi Völler, growing up, Germany had that white kit with the black going across the top, I think. His movement was stunning in the 1990 World Cup. Absolutely brilliant. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was just before him, in around about, I think, 86 or so. Superb movements. And I think as a striker, you've got to have your movements. Otherwise, you're not going to get the chances. So just honourable mentions for those 2 for me.
Okay. All right, Daz, kick us off. Who are you going with?
I'm toyed between 2. I'm going to go 2 I want to put forward as Messi and Aguero.
Yeah. Thomas?
I'm going to go with Aguero. I'm going to fill me the slots further down with them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with Aguero as well. He was the first person I thought of. He went on my list first. Messi is obviously in there, but I think if you're thinking about what someone brings to the game, Aguero brings movement, certainly in recent years, better than anyone else. So we are locking in Aguero for movement. Okay, next attribute is desire. I didn't have as many for this one, but
no, I didn't.
I think it's a good one as well because it almost brings it all together. We've talked about things like drive and energy in midfield. Desire plays a big part in going that extra mile to get the goal and driving your team forward. So Thomas, kick us off. Desire.
Luis Suarez, the man. Honestly, I heard a story about him being really badly injured. He had a bad foot injury, and he didn't want Brendan Rodgers to know about his injury. So he borrowed a pair of boots a size bigger because his foot had swelled up, put a bandage on his foot and went out and played. The man would chew your arm off to win. He was absolutely...
Literally.
An animal. Just the desire, the want to win. He'd do anything to win. Look at him in the World Cup, handball on the line. The man is just a complete and utter winner.
But I think there is a difference between sportsmanship and gamesmanship. I think Suarez showed a lot more gamesmanship than I care to show.
It's desire, Darren. It's desire. The man just doesn't want to get beat. Doesn't matter what happens. He doesn't care about sportsmanship. He just doesn't want to get beat.
And that's why, for me, he's not on my list anywhere. I just think there's better players out there. Don't get me wrong, Suarez is class now, but I'm not his biggest fan.
Yeah, but that's more about the non-football antics, isn't it? It's not.
But I don't think how you can put someone desire who goes around biting someone, who goes around handballing someone.
But it does depend how you look at it. I'll play devil's advocate here. He's on my list. I wouldn't put him in as the number 1. But in terms of his want to win, I think that's one of the reasons why he does so many stupid things. I think that almost feels like a little bit like an excuse. I'm not excusing it, but I think that's certainly the way I thought about it. Not necessarily, and I don't think you can divorce that from the brilliant stuff about him. So you've got to be very careful. But he'll do anything to win. That's just a different way of talking about desire. But again, that's the point of football, and everyone's got an opinion. So Daz, who have you got then?
I want to put in desire here. I want to put Pele. Played in 3 World Cups. Scored all kinds of goals. Desire to carry on playing, his desire to bring players into the game, his desire to make those runs is just phenomenal.
Yeah. I would throw in the 2 classics here of Cristiano and Messi as well. I think in terms of dragging their team with them and the desire to be the best player in the world and just continually get better and better, those 2 are surely right up there.
He'd be my number 1 pick. Cristiano Ronaldo, I remember seeing an interview with him when he was about 17, saying, I want to be, or I'm going to be, the best player in the world. And then to go away and work on absolutely every part of your game with the clubs, privately, at home, training, just to get to that number one goal, you know, there isn't a bigger desire than that. He'd definitely shows the most desire, even though, you know, you like him, hate him, think he's the best or Messi's the best. To get from where he started out at to become, you know, the best player in the world, he's been voted it on numerous occasions over the years. The desire to get there is, you know, second to none in my eyes.
He's also, I read something yesterday that he's become the first football billionaire. Which, I watched that documentary not so long ago about him where he was at $500 million, but apparently he's breached the billion mark now. Which
I am pleased.
Yeah,
I'm pleased for him.
Because he's struggling a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone else? Because for me, he's the one. And buzzword bingo again. All right, Daz, who are you going to go with?
I'm going to go for Ronaldo.
Okay, Cristiano?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're locking in. I'm going for Ronaldo as well. So Cristiano Ronaldo as desire. Love that. Okay, next is strength. And I wouldn't necessarily limit this to the stereotypical strong centre forward. I think strength can be anything. And there have been some really good examples. And I'll leave it up to Thomas. I think I know who he's going to come up with first. Go on, Tom.
You're not going to believe this. I'm not. I'm going for Akinfenwa.
Who?
He is.
He's that massive centre forward, isn't he?
Yeah, he plays lower league. He can bench press 180 kilos. He's got to be the strongest.
Okay, so I wouldn't have called that.
Yeah. He's quite literally took strength.
Yeah.
He's also the strongest player on FIFA.
Huh? Okay.
So,
mate, you spend far too much time playing FIFA.
I don't play. I haven't even got it. I haven't even got it.
Is the strongest. All right, so I'm going to throw a little left field one out. And again, I've just qualified the way I'm looking at strength. Messi.
Yeah. I had Messi.
For his stature and his ability to get kicked and carry on. And he gets kicked as he's on one of those mazy runs and stays up. Generally does not throw himself down in the box as well. Which you can't say about other players. I think he is one of the strongest players we've got in current football.
Yeah, I think his strength of character is what we're looking at there, rather than he can bench press 400 pounds. But I do think Messi's got a strength of character, which I think you need.
Yeah.
I want to throw in there as well two similar type of forwards we've had in the Premier League, Shearer and Drogba.
Yeah.
For their strength in terms of how they played, they're holding the ball up, the strength to get past players. So I think those two deserve an honourable mention at least.
Definitely. Drogba did an amazing job for Chelsea. Costa, another one who I think he'd run through a brick wall and is physically strong as well. What about Ibrahimovic?
He's on my list. He is strong, really strong. Gets his body in the way. He can hold players off. I've seen him stood there for quite a number of seconds with a couple of players on his back and he's just leaning into them, holding them up.
Yeah.
Just such a big, strong guy.
Okay. And then the other one that I had, which I think is a bit of a classic as well, is Batistuta.
Yeah, the big fella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I did watch, I was watching Match of the Day again last night and they were talking about when Beckham gets the red card, and Batistuta is stood behind the referee going, yeah, good decision. Good decision.
I've got a couple of older school ones. I've got Kenny Dalglish. He was really strong. He used to get his ass in the way, didn't he? And
he's in my list.
Hold defenders off. Mark Hughes.
Yeah.
Strong as an ox. He used to bully centre forwards. Such a short guy. He was wide. He had legs like tree trunks. And then I had a one from further afield. Stoichkov. Used to play up front for Barcelona. He was really strong and put himself about a bit.
Good one.
So, honourable mentions from me.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are we going to go for? Tom, you kick us off.
Oh, I mean, I like your shout with Messi and his strength. So, yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with Messi.
Daz?
For strength of character, Messi.
Excellent. Love that. So,
although, to be fair, the guy from Wickham was a close second with his bench pressing.
Akinfenwa. Yeah. So I think, again, it's just about how you that kind of stuff, isn't it? But again, he does a really good job of staying up, carrying on no matter what's happening. Very rarely complains. And I love the fact that he argues all the time with other players. He's about that big.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so the last one on the list is influence. So again, I didn't have a massive amount for this either. So Darren, why don't you kick us off?
I'm going to go old school with this, George Best. I think
Good
he
one.
influenced so many games with his dribbling ability, with his desire, with his strength. We talk Messi's character of strength. I think George Best has certainly got to be up there. With his goals he scored, his movement. George Best is one of the best players, literally, I've seen. And I didn't see a lot of them, but I've seen enough clips over the years to think he influenced so many. The United team was a great side. And he went and played. I've seen clips when he played in America for team Cosmos or someone was it, and he took about 7 players on and just he wins games single-handedly. And for that, I think George Best needs to go in.
Well, he come back and played in the UK. Didn't he play for Bournemouth or something? But I think Johnny Pollock was telling me in 83, 84, maybe he played for Bournemouth.
Like that. I know he played for Fulham as well at one point with Rodney Marsh and Bobby Moore, some of the lads down there. But he did, and then he just loved his football, and you know what he did was superb.
Okay, that's a good one. Thomas, who have you got?
Cantona. Cantona, you know, he changed United. He come into United. He won the league with Leeds. He come to United. First season, he won it. And then, you know, history speaks for itself. He went on to become a bit of a dynasty, didn't he? So I just think Cantona, a huge influence, and then just decided to retire after a few years. And, you know, Ferguson was desperate to keep him because of the influence he had on the team and the winning mentality that they had there. So he'd definitely be on my list.
He had to go, though, didn't he? Because he was following the trawler.
Yeah.
Bloody seagulls.
So I had one who you've already mentioned, Thomas, Dalglish.
Yeah,
so,
he's on my list.
And if you watch the documentary on the Kenny documentary, which is brilliant, by the way, everyone talks, all of the players talk about how he transformed that team, and all of the players around him about when he came in when he was young, he left Celtic and they didn't want him to go, and he went to Liverpool and all of a sudden he's new and he just took over and he was brilliant immediately. And then also obviously went on to manage the team as well. Great footballer, great man, obviously a legend at Liverpool, which is why he's still called King Kenny. But I would definitely put him in my list.
Can I throw a couple of shout-outs? Eusebio from Portugal. Superb player again. Quoted as being one of the best players in the world at that time. Portugal were a great footballing side, I don't think at that time, but again, in that era, he was superb. Another one, really going back now that I'll hopefully keep our Evertonians happy, is Dixie Dean. You know, and that's going way back, and I didn't see any of Dixie Dean play at all. But again, legend has it. You know, he was a superb player, broke all kinds of goal-scoring records. So I think an honorary mention for Dixie Dean, Eusebio, those type of players are superb.
Right, so I've got another one, which I don't think is you might immediately think of, but Henry. So I watched an episode of Gary Neville's, you know, with the way he interviews footballers, and he was interviewing Henry, and he talks about how he was around other players and how focused he was and how he used to drive players on. He had a real influence on that Arsenal team. Changed the way they play as well. Obviously, I think a lot of that was down to Wenger, but he played a big part in that, enabling Wenger to do what he wanted to do because he was such a quality player.
And I think the way he went about it as well, he was so cool on the pitch and he just got the job done. And even when he was a pundit, he was quite level-headed and stuff, and he spoke quite well. And that calmness around the pitch, on the pitch and around the changing rooms, things helps.
And obviously, me and Dad have agreed that we put Henry into everything because Thomas loves him and he's his best mate.
I don't agree with that.
So let's get to finalising the last attribute, influence. So we've had some really good options there. What do you think, Dad?
I'm going for George Best. I think he's the one for me who influenced the most games.
Thomas?
Cantona was close for me, but it's got to be Dalglish.
So I like
Simon. This is tough, mate.
I like Bestie as an option, but I'm going to have to go Dalglish.
I think that's disgusting, and I'm just saying now. You two have done me big time on this podcast. Big time.
Aaron, you're just ratings chasing. Okay, so
Listen,
we're going for...
We've just lost United supporters, Everton supporters. In fact, every other supporter. There's now only my dad and your dad listening, Simon. Everyone's gone.
All right, so we'll go for Dalglish, and here is the makeup of our ultimate forward. So goals, Fat Ronaldo. Movement, Aguero. Desire, Cristiano Ronaldo. Strength of character, Messi. And influence, Kenny Dalglish, the king.
I'm not happy. In fact, I'm going to go and cry now somewhere in a dark corner.
Yeah, I think you could definitely argue some of them. It's the fact that Best didn't get in, I think, is more about the fact that we didn't see enough of him because he was outstanding. But
and
yeah,
the same Simon, the same, Pele and those players were just out of our era, if we're going to be really honest. And of course, they were superstars, megastars in many ways. So I think it's a difficult one, but if we're judging by our era, I think I'm happy with 4 of them.
All right. So before we wrap up, Daz, any final thoughts?
I'd just like for people to have a look at the website. I think the podcast is going great. I think the blog we've got on the website now is looking good. And just there are thoughts and what we think and how we've played the game, if you like. So go to the website. I think it's well worth a look.
Yeah, and that's www.3betterinthefootball.com. Thomas?
Yeah, just touching back on the players that we've picked out. Ronaldo and Messi would probably could fit into every category going through. So, I mean, they are the 2 iconic forwards that we're probably looking at. And, we're just so lucky that we're able to watch them live, in our time, I think.
Yeah, great players, and it'll be good to see them coming back when football gets going again. So I really enjoyed that. I like the building the ultimate player because you're looking for different things in so many amazing players. I had a really long list for every single category. So there's loads of options. That's just our choice. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you would have picked or who you would have picked for each one of those attributes. Tell us who makes up your ultimate midfield and ultimate forward. And then while we're on it, obviously we are doing a football podcast and we'll talk about all things football, but there are some of the podcasts that I've picked up over the last couple of weeks that are worth listening to. The first one is the ACSC podcast from Charlie Kelly Davis, who is based down south. It's done by an Arsenal fan and a Liverpool fan. And I've listened to a couple of episodes now and they're really good. They're similar to us. They're focusing on the topic of the week, of the month. They're talking about the professional game, but do a really good job, sounds really good, and they definitely know what they're talking about. We probably will do something with them at some stage, but they're good lads. And then the other one, which I absolutely love, is the From the Off podcast from Mick Watson, and it's about amateur football in Liverpool. So the first episode come out last week, and it was with Neil Gregson. And Neil Gregson was a professional and ended up playing in the Liverpool amateur scene. Played for teams like Speak, Waterloo Dock, the Canada. Great player. I remember playing against him. It's really good midfielder, quality on the ball, and also like to throw a tackle in. But some of his stories are absolutely brilliant. So they did their first episode last week, released it. I listened to it, and it's got really good feedback from the amateur football lads around Liverpool. That's definitely worth a listen. They're both now on Apple Podcasts. So that's the ACSC podcast and From the Off, which is from Mick Watson, a local lad. And we always like to support our local lads. So thanks, lads. Really enjoyed that. And see you on the next one somewhere down the road.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.